G'day, legends, and welcome to the Celtic Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me tonight are Liam and Sean. How are you, Liam?
Good. I got myself a new TV today since it's Star Wars Day. It's a TV that can talk like Yoda. Because I asked it, I said, right, TV, what's your output? It said HD. Am I?
Oh, God.
There you go. There's your Star Wars reference for today.
How are you, Sean?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm relieved to not be hosting anymore, taking the pressure off. But I'm also stuck in my flipping room because I've got COVID. Because I'm in a house share, I can't even not stuck to my house. I'm stuck to an individual room, which sucks for a week.
Oh, dude.
COVID prison.
Yep. Well, as we've all said in our group chat and everything, best wishes to you and hope you get better soon, mate, and all that, and you don't have it too bad like I have last few weeks. So, yeah, we'll try and pick up your spirits a bit here with a bit of Celtic chat.
Yep, fingers crossed.
So,
I feel a bit left out here. I'm the only one that's not had it yet.
Fair enough. And you're the only one not in Australia on this podcast, Liam. There you go.
That's a good point. Yes.
Yeah. It's all fun and games, isn't it? But yeah. Well, just before we get into it, just everyone, thanks for tuning in the last few weeks' episodes. We've seen some real growth in the podcast. Please, if you listen in, you haven't already done so, please subscribe to Celtic Down Under podcast via your podcast app. While you're there, leave us a review, 5 stars if you like what we do. If you don't like what we do, still give 5 stars because, we're good people. And then if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel on there as well because we appreciate that, trying to grow that as well. So we'll get straight into it. Celtic 1, Rangers 1. Starting lineup for us was Joe Hart in goals, Ralston, Carter-Vickers, Starfelt and Taylor, O'Reilly, McGregor, Hatate in the midfield, Jota, Furuhashi and Maeda up front. So, Sean, what was your overall take on the game and on the starting lineup?
Yeah, there wasn't really many surprises in the starting lineup. The only thing was O'Reilly for Rogic, maybe. Apart from that, it was all pretty expected. The game we were pretty pish for the first 20 minutes, to be honest, and then we scored with our first chance. And then after that, we kind of dominated for the rest of the first half and for the start of the second half. Missed some 3, maybe 4 really good chances. Should have been 2-0 up, and then made some subs, and they came back out and got an equaliser and could have gone on to win it at that point. I think that pretty much summarises the game. But those head in hands moments in that middle spell for the chances we were missing, and then it was head in hands moments when they were missing their chances with hitting the post and Joe Hart save. We should have really been out of sight. And it kind of made me think of the last home game we had against them where we were 1-0 up but missing chances. And it would have went the same way, I think. So if, say, Jota and Maeda take those 2 headers right at the end of the first half, that game's basically a carbon copy of what happened in February, January, whatever date it was. And we're having a very different conversation. And I believe I said at the time in January, February, that if we hadn't scored those 2 late goals in the first half, it would have been a very different second half. And that's how it kind of played out this week.
What was your thoughts, Liam?
Yeah, pretty much similar lines. I just think we were the better team, but it's the kind of game where you pay the price for not being more ruthless. It should have been like February. We should have been 2 or 3 up by the hour mark, and we weren't. And then they come back into it, and then not only do they score, but they go on to dominate us for the remaining time. But in the grand scheme of things, ideally, every time you play them, you want to beat them, right? That's just nature, right? But the important thing in that game was to not lose it, and we didn't lose it. So mission accomplished. It now sets us up to win the league in the next 2 weeks, which is 6 months ago, you'd have bit your hand off for that. So I think we're quite happy where we are now.
Yeah, just on what you were saying, Liam, like you've got all this talk of, like we don't want to lose. Every time we play Rangers, we want to win. But if someone come to me earlier in the week and said it's going to be a draw, and then you're a chance, and you're going to be a chance to seal it the following week, I would have been like, okay, bite the hand off for that.
Yep.
So ideally, I don't want to draw with them. I don't want to drop points to them, but we were wasteful, very wasteful in front of goals. As you boys have both said, we should have been probably 3 up at halftime. Didn't happen. But then when you look at the stats, they had 14 shots, 5 on target. We had 9 shots, 1 on target, and that was our goal for the game. That's, to me, that jumped off the page right there, and we're going. We had 1 shot on target, that was it, and Jota put it in. So that shows just how wasteful we were. But at the end of the day, we didn't drop the points. We got the result, minimum requirement for the result we needed, and we go again on the weekend.
Yeah, I mean the subs were on paper they were the right subs. Like they're what you wanted, Bitons tends to do well most times against them, and Rogic as well. But then Rogic was just giving the ball away so much, and Biton wasn't really involved. He was kind of getting bypassed. Giakoumakis was doing well, but then got booked for persistent fouling after committing 1 foul. Not sure how that works, but yeah, missed chances from the strikers. Like goals influence games. Do you know what I mean? Like they were the reason why their stats are getting racked. How many shots did they have in the first half? They had 1 long range from Ryan Kent and the one that he put wide. So 2 shots from Ryan Kent in the whole first half. It's just the way it was just game script that brought those stats out. It wasn't who was the better team. Do you know what I mean? It was they were desperate.
Aye.
We weren't. Just game script. Do you know what I mean?
You can present any narrative if you look hard enough at the stats. That's the thing. But the thing that got me about it was that it's strange because it's a result where I don't think either support is going to be ecstatic about it, but at the same time, from a kind of, how can I put this, a sort of a civil unrest point of view, a draw is probably the best result for the city of Glasgow, because they're going to go home feeling like, oh, well, we didn't win, but we showed we can compete with them, even if they're going to win the league. And we are like, well, we should have beat them, but we didn't, but we know that we're better than them. So everybody goes home kind of content, I would say, but not necessarily really happy with the result. But that's what you want if you're trying to keep order in Glasgow after a Celtic Rangers game. You want things to be, muted, and that's, I think, how everybody kind of felt on Sunday night, because it was like, well, we've not quite won the league yet, but that pretty much stops them from. That pretty much seals any chance they had of coming back, and it's just another box ticked, I think, really.
I think we've never beat them 3 times in a row in the league. Is that right? I think I read that somewhere.
Well, this incarnation of the Huns.
Yeah, we've literally never.
Aye.
Like even when Brendan Rodgers was taking 4 or 5 goals off them, we still weren't able to beat them 3 times in a row in the league.
No, there was that nothing each draw where Graham Murray was doing cartwheels. I remember that.
Yeah, stuff where Clint Hill scything down Lee Griffiths, all that sort of stuff. So that would have been 3 in a row if we'd won it, but it's never happened, and there must be something to that.
Well, I mean, more generally, I don't think we are good enough yet where we should be beating them 3 times in a row. I don't think there's that big of a gap between the quality of the 2 teams. We are winning the league this year because we're a better team than Rangers, no question. But we're a team that's still developing, a team that's still growing. And I think beating them 3 times in the space of like 2 months would have given a false image and might have led to complacency. Whereas now, fan pressure, and hopefully, Ange himself is going to put pressure on the board to say, look, I still need to strengthen this team. This project's only half done. And Rangers showed enough in that game to show that they're going to be a force to reckon with next season if we don't step up another gear and go further ahead of them.
This is why we should be benchmarking ourselves against our European performances, not against our performances against them. It just so happens that they are currently a good European team. So if we're benchmarking ourselves against them at the moment, then that's a good metric. But in other seasons where we've done it, you're just creating an effective downgrade when you do that.
Well, that was an interesting. You talk about that was an interesting stat that I saw yesterday. All this hoo-ha from the Huns going on about how they're helping us with the coefficient. If you actually look at the 5-year coefficient where it's calculated, Celtic have put forward, I think, 3 or 4 more points than Rangers have into the total pot over the last 5 years, or however it's calculated. We've done more.
They've had 1 year out of the 5 lane where they've contributed more points than us. That's it.
Yeah, I think that'll change next year, though.
It'll change next year, yeah, but still.
And I think as well, if we won the same number of games as them in Europe this year, is that right?
Much.
Or if they won one more, I can't remember. Because we won, like, if you add up the qualifiers and group stages and stuff like that, I think we've won 6, and they've won 6 as well, I believe. I'm not sure.
I think maybe the last round when they went through, they went 1 ahead of us. I'll need to check that, but I think.
Is that what it is?
Aye. I think so, because I think I heard that stat, but it was before they got through against Braga. So.
Yeah. Should probably have looked that up before I started rolling out stats.
Right,
I mean, I might be wrong. I don't know.
All right, guys. So we'll just roll it back to the subs. So quickly, well, for me, we brought on Biton and Rogic. I thought they were some good subs for us to make there because it gave us more size in the midfield. I thought we were a bit too wee in the middle there. Hantade, I thought that was probably his worst game that I've seen from him. So it was a good sub to get Rogic on, get Biton on, and free up Kelmack to push forward a little bit more there. Giacomakis coming on like he did later on. That was expected as well. I didn't expect Kyogle to play the whole game. You have any other comments on the subs there, boys, or should we just roll into the referee? Because there's a comment here from Seamus about the if it pops up, just about the referees talking about Bobby Madden last time. But when you were talking about that last game, Sean, but yeah, we all know what the refs are like. We all know whose pocket they're in, and just want to throw that to you there. But first, just before that, everyone in the comments, thanks for getting involved. Just join the conversation. If something we're talking about, put your 2 cents worth in. We'll just keep discussing it. We'll bring up your comments. We want it to be as interactive as possible. So please get involved. So Sean, about the referees, over to you.
Yeah, I actually didn't think he impacted the game really, but I did still think he had a couple of stinking biased decisions. It's the usual kind of low-level stuff that, letting this foul slide and not letting that one slide, booking a Celtic player for less and he's let go for a Hun. But the main ones that I wanted to highlight were the potential handball. Was it John Lundstrom? I actually think he got that one right. I didn't think that was a penalty, the one where it hit his hand. And it was ironically the same one that the Huns were shouting for at the opposite end when it hit Carter Vickers in the last derby game in the league. The other one was Leo Labada going through on goal, and Amad Diallo takes him out. Now, if that's not a red card, then can we go back a while and get Near Biton's red card at Ibrox rescinded as well, then, please, for when he pulled down Alfredo Morelos? That was a stinking decision.
Inconsistency. I love it.
Yeah. Look, Abada was closer to goal than Alfredo Morelos was that day when when Biton pulled him down. And then, as Chris D says there, that Giacomakis yellow card as well for persistent fouling. First of all, John Beaton said it was 3 fouls. One of them was the Rangers player fouled the other Rangers player, and he gave it against Giacomakis, and somehow so it should have been a corner, but he gave a free kick because the Rangers player fouled the Sevco players fouled each other. And then there was another one he gave a free kick where it was Carter Vickers had committed the foul in the box. And then the third one actually was a foul by Giakoumakis, but that was his first actual foul, and he got booked for persistent fouling.
Yeah, I got Kevin Graham in the comments commented saying his thoughts on Beaton's treatment of GG when he came on. He never gave him a free kick. Spot on, Kevin.
Happens every game.
Happens all the time. It doesn't surprise me at all.
You notice that with these referees like Beaton that are known for their incompetence and their corruption, they will sometimes single out a player and just be like, okay, that guy's getting carded today as soon as I can. I don't care whether he deserves it or not. And he just seemed to be on a mission to card Giakoumakis, as if it was like, okay, we know that's the physical threat that Celtic have up front, so let's just neuter him as quickly as possible. That seemed to be the strategy there, because every time Giakoumakis challenged for anything, it was given against him. And then, like you say, he got a yellow card for persistent fouling when it was the first legitimate foul he'd actually committed, and it definitely wasn't a booking in its own right. No danger.
100% Liam. He did that because it was like, get him into a bit of trouble so he thinks twice about it, because we were talking about it last week. We're either going to go with Giakoumakis up front and he's going to go out there and just belt him around a bit because of his size, and then you bring Kyogle on with his speed for the last half hour, or you go the way Ange did, which is go with the speed merchants for the first hour and then bring on the big battering ram later on when they're a bit leg weary to beat them up and run them ragged that way. And as soon as we got to that situation there, it's like, well, okay, he's not going to let him go out and make an impact now. Got to give him that quick yellow card. So, we pretty much expected. As soon as you saw him come on, and as Sean said, give him a foul against him when a Rangers guy clatters his own teammate. It was pretty much, we knew he was at it at that point in time.
Yeah, and I thought as well that our team did a good job of. I don't think Tavernier was as much as a threat as he was in the semi-final. So I think Taylor and Maeda, between them, did a good job of keeping him pegged back, which was good as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And there's Paul's just highlighted one that I forgot about, which was that the handball by Scott Wright that got pushed back about 12 yards from where the spot of the foul was, even after he played on. So yeah, he played on. I don't know why he decided to bring it back, but then even when he did, he put it, what should have been the edge of the area was actually about 30 yards back as well, where from the goal.
Was that the one then Jota then ballooned it over the bar, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh, we've not scored a direct free kick all season. I wouldn't expect anything different, but
yeah,
if you get closer, you can do a trick play.
Aye. It's something we need to look at in the summer, actually, just going off topic a wee bit. We do need a free kick specialist.
Turnbull can do it, but he's just not in the team.
So we've got our next topic as part of the game review, our player focus. So what we're going to do here is all three of us, we're going to have one player each that we just want to single out and discuss their performance on the game. It could be any three. So give you boys some thinking time. I'll go first.
Okay.
Carl Starfelt. Just to save him from Sean.
Yeah.
Now, I think he looked a little nervy early on, maybe the first 20 minutes or so. But after that, I actually thought he was probably our most solid defender the rest of the game. We were mucking around with the ball a bit too much. We should have, and sometimes I just wanted to put the laces through the ball and just blast it up the field. But there was one play in particular where he got the ball and went on a run and just drove the ball forward. And I'm like, I haven't seen him do a Chris Aya type run like that all season. And now he's gone and done it against Rangers, and that opened things up for us. So for me, I thought he was solid defensively. He had a couple of moments, but then so did Carter Vickers. Taylor was... I actually didn't even notice Taylor out there at some points because he was up the wing, tucking in. He was just doing his job well. So, but yeah, across the back line, for me, Starfelt was the best performer of the four on the back line, in my opinion.
I
Player
don't
focus.
agree, but
Yeah, Sean. I knew you wouldn't agree. I just love doing it to wind you up.
like he wouldn't have to defend so much if he didn't give away the ball so much. That's a big thing that it's like he's given it. Like the reason he's having to defend like that, like desperate defending, is because he's giving it away so easily on his own side.
Come on, Sean. I'm going fishing here. I'm trying to get a bite
Like,
from you.
there was one where it was just like a simple pass and just straight to the Sevco player as if the guy wasn't even there, and he
Yeah.
just got rinsed for pace by Scott Wright as well at one point. Like, just yep, 1-on-1, Scott Wright, I'll just run past you. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, look, I like the guy's desire and strength and commitment, but he's just not a good player. I'm not having it. We need to upgrade that position.
I thought he had an all right game. I thought he was.
He's
He
been
was
having
okay.
all right games all season. He's Jozo
Aye.
Simonovic. He is Jozo Simonovic, but with a bit more pace to recover his own mistakes.
And without the
But that is the
mistakes.
difference. Like he makes, watch it. Starfelt makes big mistakes at least once or twice a game, and it's just to do with luck and the quality of the opposition, whether he gets punished for it or not. I could go and do a highlight reel for you if I had the time of all the games. And just like stuff like fresh air swipes or just stupid passes to no one and stuff like that.
You know
Give
what,
away
Sean?
possession.
Well, you've got a week. Get on it.
There's some homework for you. You're in isolation. Put it together. Put
Yeah.
it together and we'll play it at the end of the season.
Honestly, it's the same when you go back and watch highlight reels of previous seasons, and like if you just watch the highlights of the games, just the goals, the amount of goals that come from Simonovic, just stupid mistakes. It's the same for Starfelt.
So
Yeah, I
what
hope
you're saying is we need for Starfelt to just put a hand right up in the air during the next time we play them, just so you can achieve the same legendary status as Simonovic before we punt them. Okay.
Basically, he's
Amos
not.
hopes he scores on Saturday, Sean. Just for everyone listening to the audio file. So yeah, we'll. Okay, Sean, who's your player focus?
Just from Sunday, sorry. And I thought, yeah, Jota. I thought Jota had a good game. Not just like in terms of scoring a goal. I actually thought in terms of offensively, I thought he had a bit more joy when he went over to the left for a short spell. I'm not sure why they did that and then swapped back. Because when they did it at first, it seemed to work. But what he does, I think the reason they probably swapped him back is you just can't. He does such a good job of tracking back. He's got so much legs in him, like he really does, and he's got great first touch. There's one ball where it just goes over the top and he just absolutely kills it out the sky. Tavernier gets back to it and defends it well, but it's still like unbelievable touch. I think that guy is just something else, like really. We really need to. I think those stories that have came out about him deciding he's going to stay are actually just mistranslations, but still, we'd all love for it to happen. And I'd like for him to be playing in the Champions League with us next year. I think he could really do something.
With that story, Sean, it says like everyone's saying that he's telling Benfica he wants to stay here, but apparently it's Celtic telling Benfica that they're going to take up the option. So that's what the loss in translation was.
Well, I'd read that it was the Benfica manager had said that he was free to go. That was so. I think there's multiple translations out there circulating at the moment.
Who knows? All I've got to say is Celtic, as I named the podcast, you Jota make it happen.
Yep.
And Liam.
Whereas I think if Sean has his way, Starfelt will soon be getting his Jotters.
Fingers crossed.
Anyway, yeah. No, I'm gonna talk about Joe Hart because I think we saw both sides of Joe Hart's play today in talking about this game. He was at fault for the goal. Keeper should not get beat at the near post like that. Had a couple of shaky moments. We need to stop this short passing across the back of the back line of the penalty area. It's just Rangers started actively playing into it later on, and I think that it's a weakness that teams are now seeing, and they're going to keep exploiting if we don't get it sorted. But then again, he makes that crucial save at one each, He commands his area well for most of the game, and I think that, yeah, Joe Hart's an excellent goalkeeper. I'm glad we have him, but we need to work on this whole ball to feet thing because it's not suiting his style of play at all.
It's reminded me a bit of under Brendan Rodgers in the second season where, the back line would get the ball and they just whack it around the whole time, and teams would just sit off and let them just pass the ball around across the back line as much as they wanted. And then they just press in certain positions. It seems like teams are starting to be like, okay, once we get the ball to Starfelt and he makes that pass off to the wing, then they press. And then they're in positions so that if the ball goes to go back across towards the right back, that's where they're in position to pick us off. That's what I'm saying anyway. But Sean, being the footballer here, tell me if I'm saying it right.
No, you're right, but I wouldn't say it's the same as the Brendan Rodgers thing, because Brendan Rodgers' side were, if teams let them do it, they were happy to do it. Whereas Postecoglou will tell them get it forward. You know what I mean? He doesn't. He does want them to use it there, but he also doesn't want them to recycle it more than once. Really, in that position, he wants to be moving through the channels within one kind of cycle. In terms of what Liam was saying about the goal, I don't actually agree that Joe Hart was at fault. I actually thought it was a really, really good finish. Like, there's the power and how close it is to the corner. It's basically, I don't think any keeper in the world saves that unless he's standing on his post, so that his foot is within reach of it. Because there's the speed that he hits it with, there's no way you're getting down in time. So if you can hit it, like we have, just in terms of Sunday League, like if we're playing against a bad goalkeeper, you just say to the strikers, just get it low. And you know the keeper's not going to get down to it in time. Do you know what I mean? Like, but the power that he hits it with, I know it's different for professionals, but the power that he hits it with, just there's physically no way he's getting down in time. So I'm going to give the striker the credit for that one. But yeah, I was thinking about what you're saying about the whole. Everyone's been saying it, to be honest. Every kind of outlet I've been listening to in terms of Celtic fan media is saying getting the fear from this playing across the back when we're under pressure kind of thing. And I was thinking about it one way, like, right, how many times did we do that in a season? Like over 1,000, and you've yet to concede a goal from it. Okay, we've conceded a possession a few times in dangerous positions, but we've never conceded a goal. But at the same time, I think you do also have to take context into it, where if you're winning 1-0 in such a high stakes game like that you should be able to adjust at that point. And I think, Jared, maybe you'll come in and say something about how Postecoglou is just really determined to stick to his guns and his principles, and he won't give a shit about the situation. You always play the way you play, kind of thing. But I think there needs to be a 1% mitigation there, where when it's that high stake and that close, you kind of need to be pragmatic.
Now, the thing we're yet to see is the long diagonal ball that his teams over here used to do. So you'd press, and if you get it to your left back, or you say Calmac, and you can't swing it across the centre backs because you're doing that much and they're pressing that hard, then either the left back or the central midfielder, defensive midfielder, will get the ball and they just take a pivot and just ping it over to the opposite, like to the right winger. And that long ball over the top that he used to do all the time over here, where he used to have guy Thomas Broich at Brisbane do that. He used to have Mark Milligan at Victory do that. In the Australian team, he had Mile Jedinak doing that role. So he's had players who, as an out pass, it's like, okay, let's get it there and just ping the long ball all the time, like over to the opposite wing and just switch the play that way. We haven't really done that much this season. So I think it's a matter of, do we need a better left back, as we've said, who can hit that ball? Do we need more training time? I don't know. But that's something that he has done as an out pass. Instead of just getting it to your centre backs or your wings and just thumping it up the line, if they can't play it out across the back, then you get it there. And the long out ball is across the field usually, because then they've got to turn around and chase it. And then even if they win the ball, they're a lot further away and you can set your defense again and go again on your press.
Yeah, as you've said there, Taylor doesn't do it. Ralston doesn't do it. Juranovic has done it a few times. Jota has done it. Like, you think about that goal against Betis, that was where that came from. And Rogic I've seen do it a few times, both as the person hitting it and receiving it. But you're right, it's not really something we do. Jota can, so Jota, Rogic, Juranovic are the only 3 players I've really noticed doing it this year. McGregor can do it, but he's always central, so he's not going to be doing it because of that.
That's part of the opposite wing backs tucking in. So the inverted fullbacks, because say that's part of how that plays as well, because then they tucking in, it gives you the option. You can hit it to the winger, you can hit it across to the inverted fullback on the opposite side who's tucked in, and then off you go. So there's different options. Chris in the comments is saying, look, a goalkeeper who has good foot skills would make a massive difference.
Like Doris de Vries. Counterpoint there.
All I was going to say is over here he had Ante Kovic at Melbourne Victory, not a good foot skills. Michael Theo, not good foot skills. At Brisbane, he had what's his name? Matt Ryan, decent foot skills at the national team. I don't really see much of a correlation between what he's done in the past and what Joe Hart's currently doing now. Yes, it might make things easier, but at the same time, Liverpool signed a goalkeeper, Loris Karius, who had good foot skills, and then he had an absolute howler in the Champions League. So, horses for courses.
Look, those great foot skills would help us, and actually, would they? I don't think they would, to be honest. The Doris de Vries really help us out. I mean, we did well with Forster and goals, and his foot skills are shocking. I'd rather have someone that's a great shot stopper and has passable foot skills than someone with good foot skills and average shot stopping like Doris de Vries or Barkas or whoever. Like, save shots first, and then we'll figure out the foot skills later.
I was just going to add that I think, just for me now, when I was in high school, I was a goalkeeper. It's my position, but I was always taught that shot stopping is more important than anything else. Doesn't matter if you stop it with your foot, your hand, your head, your balls, whatever. As long as you stop that ball getting in the net, that's what matters. And Joe Hart is very, very good at that. And he is one of the best I've seen at Celtic for that for quite a while. I think his shot-stopping ability, purely shot-stopping ability, is on a par with Fraser Forster, who until recently I would have said was the best goalkeeper I'd seen at Celtic. I think that's the most important thing. But something that doesn't get picked up on that I think he is quite good at with the distribution is quite often you see Joe Hart will catch a cross, and almost in one motion he will catch the ball and then roll it out to whoever is making a run. And I think it's almost as if he's got one eye on where's the ball going as soon as I get it. And that is excellent. You can't train that. That's instinctive. There's very few keepers that can do that effectively.
He has a great technique as well on the overhand throw. When he comes from above his shoulder, like, we've not had a goalkeeper ever that could do that, and he's brilliant at it. No,
the only keeper I remember from growing up watching football who used to do that regularly was Oliver Kahn for Bayern Munich in Germany. Mm-hmm. He was a master of that. But Joe Hart has got that as well. And like you say, it's not something we see at Celtic often, if ever. So
Fraser Forster had this really funny motion where he would just kind of push it.
Yeah, it was almost like a volleyball maneuver, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was weird.
It was. It wasn't great. Like, because he was just going like that almost. Do you know what I mean?
All right, so Liam, did you do a player focus? I can't remember.
Yeah, I was talking about Joe Hart. That was,
okay, cool. That's what I thought. I thought that's what it was. I'm just like, I just blanked out. Anywho, so we'll quickly just wrap up the game. There's a couple more talking points. So first thing I wanted to do was John Terry rocks up, wearing a Celtic scarf. Cue the absolute meltdown on Rangers Twitter. It was hilarious. It was inject that into my veins. It was majestic to see. Not a fan of John Terry in terms of, his footballing skills or his shagging ability or any of that sort of stuff that he's well known for. But the fact that he rocked up and he's played in blue his whole career, yet he's come in wearing the hoops, brilliant.
Yeah, it's like everyone. I don't know why they think that there's a single, like maybe more than half a dozen people that are neutral that actually like them. Like everyone that is neutral in the world looks up at the Glasgow Derby, and I, I you struggle to find somebody that comes down on the blue side of it. Do you know what I mean? Like who have they actually got as a neutral that would be drawn towards singing about the things that they sing about? Do you know what I mean? Like I don't want John Terry. It's Sporting Celtic. I don't like the guy. They can have him, but yeah, you're right, Jared. It must really stick in their craw that everyone that comes up just goes into the green end, including like people that become their managers and players, like Joey Barton and Steven Gerrard. They've all like came out supporting, like announcing that they prefer Celtic, and then they end up going and managing and playing for Sevco. Do you know what I mean?
What was funny though is like there was an article on why he actually goes for Celtic, right? So growing up, there's a picture of him in a Celtic kit and his brother in a Rangers kit. And so he actually, growing up, they were both Chelsea fans, but then they followed Scottish football. And apparently the story goes his older brother picked Rangers. So there was controversy when they were playing each other in the house. He picked Celtic. That was his reason. So since he was a kid, his Scottish team was Celtic. So it's actually funny for me in that regard as well, considering he was the captain of Chelsea and with their ties into, Rangers and all that sort of stuff. That he was
Interesting.
that way just to wind his brother up more than anything. But
I think he was actually a Man United fan as a boy, though, John Terry,
no, okay.
rather than Chelsea. But yeah,
Doesn't matter.
yeah. Just that it's not normal to actually. I don't know why that was the one that when he was a player it came up, because it's not normal to actually know who these people support as kids. But John Terry was one of the ones I'd heard about supporting
fair
Man
enough.
United.
So
It's funny because going the other way, Beckham was a Chelsea fan as a kid, apparently.
Yeah, because he was from London. Yeah, that was the story. It was John Terry supported Man United, but Beckham had supported Chelsea.
Aye, but the John Terry thing as well. The thing I read, which I thought was quite funny, it was just somebody said, "Oh, did he think that? Does he think the trophy's getting presented this weekend? You know, is that why he's turned up?" Because he did famously do that in was it with Chelsea, where he turned up in his kit, whatever, even though he wasn't playing. He got the
European
trophy.
final. Yeah. You have to wonder about these footballers and their loyalties, like, because they just, and don't mean that as a criticism. I mean, like, I don't know how, it's hard to imagine as a fan, like, that change. Do you know what I mean? Like, Chris Burke going to play for Rangers, or Neil McCann becoming a Rangers fan, and, Kenny Dalglish, Danny McGrain, people like that change over. It's just hard to imagine. Like, you can imagine playing for somebody that's giving you money if you're not really bothered, but like to actually support a team afterwards is different. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, the one that really mystifies me with that is Nacho Novo, because not only did he play for Rangers, but he has gone full Hun since he retired. He abuses Celtic fans on Twitter. He sings all the songs. I'm like, this is a Spanish Catholic. I'm like, guys, once the Huns get done with Celtic fans, it'll be people like you that are next. Don't you realise that? But yeah, he's the one that really surprised me, because he's not just like became a Rangers fan; he's become an absolute Hun, and it really is quite shocking.
But it's not even just in Glasgow. You got like Steven Gerrard was an Everton fan, right? Wasn't he?
Yep.
Michael Owen, I think, was he? There was a whole bunch of them anyway, like Liverpool players that were Everton fans growing up.
Aye.
Yeah, it's a strange one. Like, I guess footballers really are just more career driven than we kind of give them credit for. Do you know what I mean? Like they do actually care more about their professionalism than they do about their boyhood loyalties.
There's also maybe just the kind of camaraderie that comes with it as well. Somebody, I mean, like, for example, you read about somebody like Mark Rossas, right, who to this day still talks about Celtic and how much he loves Celtic. And he, he was at Celtic for what, about 2 years maybe, if even that.
Yeah, he didn't play too many games, but yeah.
But he said that his time there and like, interacting with the other players, with the fans, with the staff, just gave him this love of Celtic that has never left him, and he says never will leave him. So I think, like you say, Sean, there is that professional element of like you play for a club, so you have to kind of support them as well. But I do think certain clubs leave a bigger impression on people, and there's quite a few people who were not necessarily Celtic fans but have come to Celtic and have left as fans. Gordon Strachan's another one who has publicly said that he wasn't a fan of Celtic before he managed us, but now he is.
Yeah, I just don't understand the ones that become Rangers fans, like Neil McCann. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, it doesn't.
Let's face it. Can we understand the mentality of anybody that supports that mob? I mean, really.
I know through indirectly, I know Chris Burke's parents, and they still are season ticket holders at Celtic Park. So, like, I would be surprised if Chris Burke supports Rangers. I'd say he probably he'll publicly remain neutral for the rest of his life. But I'd say if he's looking for the result of the Celtic Rangers game, he's probably happy if Celtic win. Do you know what I mean? Like, inside. So, but then there's ones like Neil McCann that have just gone full blue nose, and I don't get it.
All right. So what we'll do is the last thing I want to touch on from the game is the stadium damage, seats getting broken and thrown inside the stadium, toilets being damaged, and then the whole post-match carry on and from the Rangers and their fans about, our fans were throwing stuff at them, yet they were throwing stuff at us. All I'm going to say on that is it's an absolute shit show. There's no need for it. Stop acting like a bunch of children. And, let's just bill Rangers for the broken seats. That's all I want to just leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm going to give them both crap for this, the Celtic fans and the Sevco fans. It's nothing new from the Sevco fans to come to Celtic Park and wreck the toilets and rip up seats. It's absolutely standard. It used to be we just gave them a bill and it just wasn't mentioned in public. The throwing bottles thing, you can say they started it, whether you're talking about the game in March or whether you're talking about Sunday there. Doesn't matter. Don't respond like that. I remember when they came and wrecked our toilets about 5 years ago. And when we went to Ibrox for the next game, the Celtic fans took air freshener and scented candles and set them up in the Ibrox toilets. So the response was to not wreck the Ibrox toilets, but to actually make them nicer. And that's the way to do it. Do you know what I mean? It's to highlight how bad they are by just going in the opposite direction and not lowering ourselves to that level.
See, I'll kill them with kindness sort of thing, just do the complete opposite. But yeah, it's like we don't need to lower ourselves to their standards, throwing glass bottles and shit. The funniest thing I saw after the game, there was a video of this dad and his daughter, and they're just standing there, and they're just bottles are getting thrown, and they just put their hands up and start doing the zombie walk at them as they're walking out. It's brilliant.
Yeah. It's quite
funny. The thing is, this whole thing with the toilets getting smashed up is, as Sean touched on, it's nothing new, right? Back when my dad and I used to actually work with Celtic and Rangers through our family business. Now, I don't know what the figure is now, but I'm talking around about 2004, 2005 time. Back then, the figure was just every game, the home team would send the away team a bill for 10 grand. And then the same thing would happen. The reverse of the fixture, they would send us a bill for 10 grand. And nothing public was ever said about it. It was just accepted that the toilets and a certain amount of seats are going to get trashed. And it was usually about 10 grand's worth of damage. However, I think that the reason Sevco are trying to make an issue of this now is because I don't think they can necessarily afford to hand over 10 grand every time their fans go on the rampage.
So you're blaming the police?
Well, it's that thing of now I'm not going to get specifically political here, right? But you see this a lot in politics, and I won't say who because people will know who I'm talking about, right? But it's this common strategy of if you're guilty of something and you're quite obviously guilty of something, what you do is come out and accuse everybody else of it to distract from your own guilt. And Sevco in recent weeks have done that, accusing others of racism, accusing others of using violence, accusing others of throwing bottles. accusing other people of, bigotry and intolerance. And it's like, guys, you wrote the book and all this stuff. But rather than just accept it and own it, you project it onto other people. And like I say, it's a thing you see in politics with certain people as well. And I think it's a learned behaviour in the case of the Huns, because they've seen that it works for certain personalities outside of football as well.
Yeah, do your business away from the public, and that sort of thing. Like, some things shouldn't be highlighted. It's just going to encourage it. It's giving people attention, and if you give them attention, they're going to do it again.
Yep. Exactly.
It's like, why they don't show a streaker when they're on live TV. It's because it's just going to encourage other people to do it.
Aye.
Fair enough. All right, so we'll leave that there. We'll jump into the weekly quiz, Sean.
Okay, so Liam. Oh. Okay, so just 5 quick questions again, and Liam, I believe it's your turn to go first this week. Is that wrong?
Yeah, Liam's first this week.
Yep, I'll go first. Let's do it.
Okay, question number 1, and it'll go over to you, Jared, if Liam doesn't get it. Which jersey number does Matt O'Reilly wear? Feel free, anyone in the comments as well, to join in.
Wait a minute. 21?
It's
Marvin
not.
Compass Special 33.
It is. Well done, Jared. Matt O'Reilly wears 33. Okay, question 2. Jared first. What nationality is Celtic's Women's Player of the Year, Jacinta Galbadarachi? Galbadarachi.
She is a Melburnian from Australia.
For God's sake, come on! Not only from his country, from his fucking hometown. Come on!
It's from about an hour and 10 minutes that way.
Would you have known that one, Liam?
Yes, I would have.
Oh, you would have? Ah, interesting. Sorry. Okay. I was just going on flipping it from last week. Okay. Liam, you can have this one then.
Right then.
Kyogle won goal of the season for Celtic for his goal against which team?
Wait a minute. Dundee?
It was not.
No.
And Kyogle's from where you live, so no, there's your excuse gone there. Jared?
I don't know. Take a punt. Hibs.
It was Hibs in the cup final.
You know what's funny? I didn't even know that he won that award because I got that confused with Rogic winning the PFA goal of the year.
I thought it would have been a tricky question because I actually thought his best goal wasn't even that goal. I thought his best goal was the one against St Johnstone. Although that was more of a better team goal, I should say, the one against St Johnstone.
Good punt.
Yeah, so the Hibs Cup final one. Question number 4, Jared. What is the first name of former Celtic striker Henrik Larsen?
Sorry, what was the question?
What is the first name of former Celtic striker Henrik Larsen?
Henrik.
It is not Henrik.
I know it's not.
Right, wait a minute. I read this somewhere. Is it not like Anders or Andreas or something? I'll say Anders.
It is not. I'll give it a minute and see if anyone gets it in the comments, and I'll give you the final question while I do that. Okay, so question number 5. This is another kind of closest to the pin type question. So, how many goals and assists does Young Player of the Year Leo Abada have across all competitions this season? How many goals and assists combined?
Jared, do you want to go first?
No, you go, Liam.
Right. Okay. All right. I'll say 32.
26.
He did it last week as well. It is exactly 26.
For fuck's Have you got a wee script just off camera that you're reading these off of, for God's sake?
I swear
brilliant.
this is not online in any way.
And the funny thing is, last week's one was just a pure guess, and so was tonight's.
Oh, what?
It's 15 goals and 11 assists across all competitions. He scored in every competition we played in this year, which was, I think, some sort of record as well. And to backtrack to question 4, Chris D had the guess as his first name King. It is not. It is actually Edward. Edward Henrik Larsen. Very regal name. Okay, so this week's winner again, Jared. Martin K came in with it just as I was saying it, so I'm not sure if he knew that before or not, but well done, Martin. So this week, make that 4-0 to Jared. Liam, you're gonna have to do better. Okay, guys.
Oh,
5 quick questions again next week, hopefully.
All right. So next topic was released earlier in the week that Mark Lawwell has been appointed the head of first team scouting and recruitment. He's coming to us from the City Football Group, where he worked within their global structure. He's worked with Ange before in Ange's time at Marinos. So, look, overall, I think everyone's read the press statement, that sort of thing. For me, I look at it and go, just because of his last name, straight away, I was like, oh, great, here we go. Gives me the fear that I've spoken about previously about Peter coming back. But looking into this further, Ange has worked with him. He's coming from a big club. He's got a lot of contacts elsewhere. He's actually got the correct skill set for this role. And he's got the relationship with Ange, and he knows the club because of his father and with his role at Man City in terms of the amount of players we've had on loan from there. Guys like, we go right back to it. Yeah, we got guys like Boyata from there. We got guys like Denia, Gadetti, Cham, Paddy Roberts,
Frimpong.
Frimpong, that's the other one. So we've had all these players come through in this. Well, he was there as part of that pathway thing. He ticks a lot of the right boxes. So I'm going to judge him on his own ability, not on who his father is. That's the easiest way to look at it from my point of view. What's your take, Sean?
Yeah, I'm same as you. When the name came up, Lawwell, I was like, oh, for God's sake. Kind of similar to when Gavin Strachan got the Celtic job. But then when you actually read the Celtic statement, it's like, well, actually, if you're being objective here, this actually seems like a backward step for Mark Lawwell. Like he's going from head of recruitment and scouting at City Group to just come and be head of recruitment and scouting or whatever the title is at just Celtic. So it seems like we've actually managed to get someone who's taken a step back, who has 4 years of working relationships with our manager. It seems like actually on paper to be a perfect appointment and one that we've slightly overachieved on, even if just looking at the name makes it seem like a jobs for the boys type thing.
And Liam, what's your take?
Yeah, it's one of those cases where it's a good thing that I was able to think before I posted about it, because the instinct as soon as you read the headline is to scream nepotism. But like you guys have said already, looking into this Mark Lawwell's background, looking at what he's achieved so far, and looking at the position that he is giving up in order to take this job on, no, he deserves at least to be given a fair shout, regardless of what we might think of his dad. I'm actually think that's a very positive sign, and I like the fact that it's someone Ange has worked with before already, and has good things to say about, is even better, because the biggest worry with these kind of appointments is that it's a board appointment and not an Ange appointment. But the fact that there's already a working relationship there would suggest to me that Ange has at least had some kind of say on this, which is exactly how it should be. So yeah, I'm willing to hear the guy out, and I hope that he can continue to be as successful at Celtic as he has been everywhere else up until now.
Well, apparently the reason Ange was on the shortlist that Peter Lawwell had for Ange coming in was because of Mark.
Well, there you go then.
So if that's the case, that's how closely these two work together. Then all I have to say is, come in, do your job. Can't complain about it. Now we'll quickly crack on to the next thing. So the PFA awards, the winners. So Ange won Manager of the Year, Cal Mack won Player of the Year, Abada Young Player of the Year, Rogic Goal of the Year versus Dundee United, and Jacinta won Young Player of the Year award. Then we had the Celtic Club Awards, which I've just got open here because there's too much to go through. So Academy Player of the Year went to Stephen Welsh. And then we go through Player of the Year for the women was Jacinta. What did we get? Kyogle was top goal scorer. And then I'm just scrolling through because I wrote it down, but then I accidentally didn't save what I wrote down.
Callum McGregor won Players Player and Supporters Player.
Yep, and then Abada won. What did he win? Young Player of the Year for the men.
Yep.
And then Callum McGregor, he won Player of the Year and Supporters Player of the Year. So,
and Wim Janssen got a special recognition award.
Special mention, yep. And Jacinta also won Young Player of the Year for the women's team as well. So good to see her doing well from an Australian point of view and also for the club. So hopefully she gets a call up internationally soon and gets some recognition, whether that's with Australia, Argentina, or Italy, because that's where she's eligible to play.
Oh, and Matildas are pretty strong, so it might end up being Argentina or Italy.
Yeah, her mum wants her to play for Argentina, apparently, so we'll see. So, the next one, European pathway has been confirmed. All Russian teams won't be in the Champions League or any of the European football next year, which means that the league winner in Scotland guaranteed group stage football in the Champions We've got just trying to find it on my list here again. What that also means is the Scottish runner-up goes into the third round of qualifying rather than the second. And what that also means is that I read somewhere that means that the third place team is guaranteed European football as well.
Yep, it does, yeah. So second place go into the Champions League third qualifying round of non-champions, which means they need to play 2 qualifying rounds. But if they get knocked out at any stage, either in the third round or the playoff, then they go straight into the Europa League group stages anyway. And from what I've heard, assuming that's going to be Sevco, they'll be seeded for both those rounds. But to be honest, the seeding doesn't really matter at that stage because only 2 teams actually get through that way. So you're going to be playing like the runners up from Portugal, and no matter who's seeded, do you know what I mean? Like runners up from Portugal and Holland and wherever, Ukraine, I don't know. And yeah, you're right, Hearts. So it's guaranteed to be Hearts. It's supposed to be the Scottish Cup winners, but because Hearts and Sevco are the finalists, it's guaranteed that Hearts are the team that will be playing either Europa League or Conference League group stage football. Same thing, they go in at a late qualifying round, and if they get beat, they go straight into the Conference League.
So all I've got to say to that is that's good for the coefficient.
Yes.
You're going to have 2 teams guaranteed. Actually, it's pretty much 3 teams are guaranteed in, right?
3 teams guaranteed. 3 teams guaranteed.
Brilliant.
So that's like a guaranteed 8 million for Hearts, guaranteed 8 million, whatever, 7, 8, 9 million for Sevco, guaranteed if we win the league, which we should, so guaranteed 30 million. Well, it was 32 last time, but they reckon there's a discount because of COVID. So what happened was when there was a drop-off in COVID, they spread that cost out over 5 years. So there's a bit of a hit in that sense. So it should actually be slightly less, but not much.
There you go. Happy days.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, that everyone, is this week, the press is all saying, oh, it's confirmed. It's everybody knew this about 6 weeks ago. And the whole thing with the Russian teams not getting back in, right?
Yeah.
Everybody kind of 99% knew that was going to happen, right? But the point I'm trying to make is that the press in Scotland we're trying to kind of manufacture this narrative that Celtic might not get the Champions League place if they win the league. And they seem to be every day almost seem to be contriving a new reason why it might not happen. There was the Russian angle. There was a manager of one of the teams in Ukraine said that he thought it might be good if the Ukrainian teams got parachuted in the league automatically as a goodwill gesture. Now, I don't disagree with that necessarily, but the Dnipro manager has no decision-making power at FIFA or UEFA. So for the Daily Record to run with him saying this might be a good idea as this is going to happen, which was basically what they implied of the story, was just absolute gutter journalism. And I'm glad that this has now been officially put out there, because these scare stories will now have to stop. But this should never have happened in the first place.
Well, last night also Villarreal were knocked out of the Champions League, which was the other wild card that could have knocked us down. So the two wild cards being Ukrainians, Russians, or three Ukrainians, Russians, and Villarreal are all now out of our path. So that's it. Straight in if we win. When we win.
Yeah.
Happy days. So
maybe,
what
maybe we'll get a pre-season tour to Australia now that we don't have Champions League or European qualifiers at all.
Well, I mean, hopefully Japan as well. I mean, it's on the way.
Depends what's happening with the Super Cup, but we'll report on that when more goes around.
Yeah.
But anyway, we've got on the weekend coming up on Saturday. We're playing at home against Hearts. So, Sean, what are you hoping to see from the game, and what's your score prediction?
Well, Hearts are locked into third place, so they've got their eye in the Scottish Cup already. They're going to be avoiding injuries left, right, and centre. So I'd say we're going to win this one comfortably, as long as we come to the table. If we take the same relaxed attitude that they're going to take, then we'll struggle. But I think we'll come out, we'll play our best, and Hearts will be trying to avoid getting hurt or overexerting themselves. I reckon it's a comfortable 3-0.
And Liam?
I would agree with that. 3-0, maybe even 4-0. I think, whenever Celtic have not won a game recently, they've come out the next game and really pushed it just to show what they're all about. And I think Ange will have the players similarly fired up for the Hearts game. I think it's going to be a case of, look, all right, a draw with Rangers last week was a decent result, but there's still questions being asked about the quality of the team because we didn't absolutely smash them. So let's go out and absolutely smash it today and just prove that we are the champions. I think that, Celtic will win by at least 3 goals, possibly more. And I actually think there's a chance we might clinch the league this weekend, because I could see Rangers dropping something.
So you reckon we can win the league at Ibrox, is what you're saying?
Kind of, in a sense.
Nice.
Yeah.
For me, I was going to say 2-0 or 3-0 sort of thing. I just think we'll get the job done. It'll be an ugly game, but at the end of the day, it's about picking up the 3 points, and off we go. So we'll get those points, and then it's just a matter of either they got to drop points or we got to get the draw the following game, and it's all bets are off. So onwards and upwards. Let's go clinch this title. Let's clinch the cinch.
Do you know what? I had to do some investigation to figure out who this Rylan character is that's doing all the memes at the moment. I was like, what is going on? Who is this guy? He looks like somebody's painted his face on. I'd never heard of him before. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, go ahead and enlighten me.
No, you'll have to look it up. I can't. It's not going to work on an audio medium. So basically, this guy's like the spokesperson for Cinch, and he's just been like kind of tripping on Twitter with because the Cinch sponsored SPFL, so he's been randomly engaging with SPFL things. But the guy is like, I he did like an X Factor or something like that, and some Big Brother thing. And honest to God, he looks like a mannequin. I can't describe.
Oh, that Rylan. It looks like a sort of a younger, even more effeminate George Michael. I know the guy you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep. Got another one.
So someone's going to sand and polish of his face. It's really a weird looking guy. But yeah, I had no idea who he was. I was like, what is going on? Somebody was like carrying a cardboard cutout of him at a game the other day.
Brilliant.
I'm still holding out hope that Cinch might turn around at the end of the season and say to the Huns, right, okay, no prize money. Two can play this no cooperation game, boys.
If I was them, I'd just be driving a bus around Ibrox with Cinch on the side of it just for a laugh.
Yeah. All right. So what we'll do is we'll start to wrap up the podcast. Thanks everyone for tuning in and watching. Those listening on the audio format, we appreciate that. So hope you enjoyed the episode as well. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Celtic Down Under podcast via your podcast app. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Join our Facebook group. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Celtic Down. Final thoughts. So we'll go to you first, Liam.
Okay. So my final thought for this week is, how can I put this? So, been reading a lot this week about it's not football related. I'm reading about the takeover of Twitter by Elon Musk, and I'm a bit worried about it. But what I would say is, to sum it up in one sentence, there is no such thing as absolute free speech. Everything we say, everything we do has a consequence, no matter what any billionaire tells you.
My final thought is something that John sent through because he couldn't be on the pod today, and with it being May the 4th, he wanted a Star Wars joke, so he sent us a picture, and it was, "Are you related to Yoda? Because Yoda-licious."
Oh dear.
That's for you, Johnny. And Sean?
Yeah, I was playing football the other day, and the ball kept getting bigger, and I couldn't quite figure out why, but then it hit me.
Oh, right! You never get to slag off any of my jokes ever again. Come on now, that's it. A new low has been reached.
On a related note, you can Google the video of Dick Campbell getting hit in the head with a ball. It's very funny.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. How?
Hello.
Jobby.